back to Kilroy's Key 3. Today, we're going to do World War II Small Unit Tactical New2Me in 2022. What does all that mean? Well, we're looking at World War II games. Small Unit Tactical, or SUTs, are games that are basically at the platoon level or lower. They're tactical games, but they're really kind of focused on small units. So you're looking at platoon, squad, and down to the individual level. I did a article geek list on this several years ago that actually won a Charlie, and I'll put a link to that in the description down below. But basically trying to trace the evolution or development of small unit tactical war games, starting back all the way to miniatures with H.G. Wells and working their way up to modern games or modern or games that are available today. And so today I'm going to be looking at my top 3 games that are World War II small unit tactical that are new to me in 2022. What does that mean? Well, that means that I played them for the first time, either acquired them and played them or just played them for the first time in 2022. So one of the things, and these are games that are in my collection, right? I'm limiting it to that. One thing I said at my first episode was I was going to try to stay away from honorable mentions, and I'm already breaking that rule. So 2 honorable mentions are The Last 100 Yards, Volume 3, The Solomon Islands, and Heroes of the Bitter Harvest. Why are these honorable mentions and not top of my list? Well, they would be top of my list. However, for Solomon Islands, I really didn't play it the first time in 2022. I was one of the play testers for that, and so I actually played this quite a bit before 2022 when this one came out. So, or when I acquired this one. So, would be in the running on my top 3. However, I feel like since I played it so much before it came out, that more of an honorable mention. As for Heroes of the Bitter Harvest, couple reasons. This one probably arguably should be in my top 3. However, kind of disqualified it for 2 kind of reasons. Number one, I've played a lot of lock and load tactical, including the modern, but also World War II. So this is, more of that, although this is focusing on the Eastern Front and had some new rules and some new development to it. So, probably could put it in there. Plus, I don't know if this is available yet to the mass. This was provided to me by David Heath of Lock and Load Publishing. So I want to thank him for that. And this one actually was provided to me by Mike Denson, as part of the playtesting element of that. So that's one reason why I felt, knowing that this might not be available, maybe it shouldn't be on my top 3. Both of these would be in my top 3. However, again, I'm kind of doing that. It's my list, right? So I can kind of push them off to the side, and it lets me get into more games. But both these would be very, very high on my list, but for those reasons I stated there. So what am I going to say are my top 3 in Kilroy's Key 3? Well, I mean, if you recognize this map here, then Landsworth Ridge is on there. And Lock and Load's not going to be alone, because I'm going to put Point Blank V is for Victory. And then the third one, what do you think the third one would be? Well, it's going to be American Tank Ace, kind of a late one to the game, because I just got this one not too long ago. I have to say, thank you to Lock and Load. They provided me this copy, kind of a review copy. And I've done some videos on that, and I'll put a link to some of these videos in my description as well. The same is true for DVG Games. I got a copy of this. I want to thank them for that. Compass, well, I went out and got this myself. So there you go. I can deal with getting games on my own sometimes. So we're back to the, giving out keys. So got my, oh geez, I'm dropping them. I got my chest of keys here. So let's go through my 3 elements that I try to cover in this segment. That is point of view. So that's presentation, operation, and value. So for presentation, Landsworth Ridge, I mean, look at this map here. I really like the feel of this map. This is dealing with the first part, or the first offensive in the Battle of the Bulge, which just happened a few days ago before filming this. I like the way the map lays out, and the cards, the art on the cards is very nice and simple, and and easy to understand and deal with as it goes through the procedure of the game. This being a solo game, it's very procedural, and these cards are kind of the key to it. These are the AI that are bringing the forces out in the game, and I just really like how the art is. The counters are fine as well, but I mean, to me, it's the cards and the map that really bring out the presentation of the game. So in that regard, I'm probably going to give the edge to Landsworth Ridge as far as presentation. So this would get the, as we've done it before, this would get the 3 keys there. Now, who's going to get the second one? Well, this is kind of tough. Point Blank is a card game as well, and they have some great card art in here. There's really not a map to this game. There are some maps that you can use in the game and fold out if you want to play the game, but you don't have to use them. They have these kind of fold out maps here. They're basically just allow you to have a grid of sorts, but you don't really need to have to use the maps, use the maps that come with it. Although they are good quality, they're thick. But you can just use the cards and play out as a grid. There's some markers or counters that you can use to lay out the grid, and you can do it that way. But the cards are very nice. There's a lot of iconography or symbols on it that you need to understand to use the game. You've got your combat factors and range and morale and the like. But there's some really great art on these cards as well. And also the video that they did, that doesn't count for presentation, but the video that they did for this game, the trailer video, was one of the best I've ever seen. It was really good how they did live action combat and then superimpose some of the images from the game. But there's all kinds of great artwork on these cards. So I really do like that. As for the American Tank Ace, this is a solo game as well. I mean, all 3 of these games can be played solo. This is predominantly solo. This is predominantly solo. And this is, I actually think this is better played 2-player, but does have a solo mode in it. American Tank Ace, has your standard kind of counters. I mean, the counters are fine. They're good counters, but they don't really bring the game home for it. They're more markers than anything else. It does have some map boards that are thick, maps. This is your operations map where you'll be doing moving stuff around, and this is really the gameplay map. Your tank's going to be kind of either at one of these ranges, close, medium, or long, and then you can see the star there because you'll move your counter for the tank to see what its facing is, because facing is going to make a difference because your enemy is going to be set up here. And then you're going to mark weather, you're going to mark the current mission, you're going to have the current terrain, and the like. Again, this map, most of the game is markers on this map, as opposed to you're not moving on a hex map. You're just doing localized combat here. This is in the vein. This is a Gregory M. Smith design. If you're familiar with his designs, he's what I tend to call charty war games. They're in the vein of America B-17, Queen of the Skies, and so a lot of this game is based on charts. It's a lot of rolling. You're making some decisions, and then you're rolling and seeing what happens. And then there's a lot of charts involved here, and the charts are very nice, and that goes along with presentation as well. Is the player aids? This is not so much a player aids as it is the game. The charts are a key part of the game, and they're laid out very nice and easy to follow. As with lot of Gregory Smith's designs. There's also a little bit of role-playing element. This is your officer, and you're going to get medals and promotions and rank, and then you're going to get skills for your team. That's a nice chart or a nice aid there. It's more of it's not really a player aid, it's part of the game, right? And that's thicker stuff. It's not as thick as the boards that came with it. And then you got your player board, which is basically the tank, where you're going to keep track of your crew and whether they're buttoned down, and skills and weapons and ammo and all that kind of stuff here. So there's some nice stuff here. So as I said, it's kind of a tough call between the artwork that's done on Point Blank, which this is a card game in the line of up front, and this is a tank game in the line of B17 with a lot of charts. A lot of good stuff here. But I'm gonna this is a tough one, but I'm gonna kind of go with Point Blank for the art on the cards and how it's presented. That would give American Tank Ace 1 there. Now we go to the rule set, right? And this is, especially for solo games, the rules and the procedure are very, very important in that game. American Tank Ace is, again, a very procedural play, and if you played some of Gregory Smith's games, you're going to get a flow for how they play. He's got sub games, he's got air games, and now he's got tank games. And an interesting note here is, he was a tanker in the Army, so he definitely knows something about this design space. And then you can see some of the the counters there as well. But the rules here are fine. They're laid out. Again, this is a very procedural game. You're going to be going from chart to chart to chart in American Tank Ace. As for Landsworth Ridge, this is a solo game and very procedural as well, but this is going to be done in stages. You're going to be going through these decks of cards, and you'll go through several of these, and you're basically trying to survive a day. You're basically playing real historical soldiers that were kind of caught in the very, very beginning of the Battle of the Bulge. And you're going through several of these decks here to survive a day. And if you get through all, I think it's 4 decks, then you survive and you win the game. If you don't get through, then it's measuring how far you got. In real life, these soldiers, only one was killed, I believe, and the rest were captured. So they didn't necessarily survive the day. They survived a day, but not to victory, right? They were going up against insurmountable odds here. So the rules here are fine. Again, if you've played any of the Valiant Defense series, they all have a similar concept of it's kind of a states of siege system where they're going to be moving along this track here, as you can see, and getting to your location. You're trying to keep them out of your location. And you're going to be, kind of drawing these cards, and these cards will tell you where they're going to assault or what area they're going to assault. And you've got this whole ridge, this whole line that you're trying to defend, and they're coming at you. And so the rules are very similar to each of the Valiant Defense series, but yet they're different, right? This is a different situation. This is open, basically covers a little bit more territory than some of the typical ones. The Pavlov's House probably covers the most because it has 3 levels, kind of a strategic and operational, and then a tactical. This one is tactical, but it's a longer area, where the other 2 in the series are more localized. You're at basically a castle or the post office, and it's you're focusing on one building. This is kind of a longer area, but the rules are clean, they're crisp. It's easy to play these games once you've played a few of them, and the concepts kind of come back to you. Which leads us to Point Blank. Point Blank was a very ambitious endeavor in that, they weren't trying to do upfront point 2, right? Point 2.0. They were trying to do something that fills that space. A card game, a World War II small unit tactical card game that gives you some of the feel of upfront, but plays differently, and it does here. This relies a lot on their lock and load tactical system. Where did we see that before? Yes, this relies a lot on the lock and load tactical system. that Lock and Load has a lot of games in that series, and the combat and some of the gameplay really fits in there. Now, what is unique here is that you're using cards for the terrain as well. So you're not necessarily so they have to superimpose like a line of sight. That's probably one of the more complicated rules in this, is the line of sight. But, you have, these are objectives, but you've got, terrain cards that basically you'll lay out either on that map, the mat that you get, or you lay them out on a grid to play the game. And the terrain has built in some of the line of sight type modifiers. Like this one blocks line of sight. That's clear, so it doesn't do it at all. This one here partially, blocks it, and stuff like that. And there's other factors like cover that are on the terrain. So this one was a little bit tougher to get into as the rules would go. And so, as you can see, this is a lot thicker rule book as well, and took a little bit more grokking to kind of get into. So in that regard, I'd probably give, the rules are laid out nicely, but there's a lot there. So I'd probably give this the 1 as far as keys go. Now the question is, what do we do with these two here? I probably go with the clarity of Lazarus Ridge as the 3, and then American Tank Ace is going to get 2 in that regard. Again, the rules are clear, but it's charty, and the way that they're laid out is you kind of have to go section by section to kind of figure out the charts in that regard. So now that brings us to the last piece, which is value. And value, I kind of look at value in a couple different ways. Number one is, the simulation value. How does this simulate the actual event? How does it feel? Do you feel like you're reliving that event, or you're getting the same decisions in the same decision space that the leaders of that battle or that situation had, and are facing some of those same circumstances? So there's a sim value. There's also a replayability or fun value. That's mainly for non-war games, but it fits in here too. We play games. They're called games, right? So we're playing them. The word play is operative there. We're playing these to entertain, or to learn, or to enjoy. And so, there's a certain amount of replayability that comes with it as well. And in that regard, another tough call. I played all these games. This one, these two are solo. This one is both opposed and solo. And I find I like this playing opposed better in that regard. So as far as replayability, I mean, I like the value and defense, and I can play this over and over and over again, but this is one situation. I mean, it is one specific battle. It's the beginning of the Battle of the Bulge. So it by that nature, it does have some limitations. So in that regard, I'm going to give it the 1 key there, because it doesn't really have the same amount of replayability as these other ones. Now, sim value is relatively high because this is simulating a specific historical event. These two are more, abstracted. They're covering multiple events. There's several modules or scenarios in Point Blank, and in American Tank Ace, you have kind of a campaign game and ability to kind of go forward on that. So in that regard, I'm probably going to go with value. I'm probably gonna go with value. I'm gonna give Point Blank the 2 on this. This is really close because there's a lot of game in this box. There's a lot of replayability in this. I mean, the cards that you get are enormous. I mean, that's a thick box, and there's a ton of cards in there, and there's a lot of scenarios that you can play, and you can design your own scenarios. So there's a lot of replay, and I do like the fact that this I like it better opposed. However, I do like the American Tank Ace. This one is easier to get to the table. Again, it's charty, but it's easier to get to the table than this. This one takes a little bit of picking up and trying to understand the rules again if you haven't played it in a while. And this one, you can kind of just go through the charts and kind of get at it. I do like and the fact that it is, solo as well. This one is solo, but there's a little bit more effort to this solo than these two games, because these are designed for solo. So this one, I'm going to probably get to the table more, and I've played more, and that whole campaign experience, and there's a randomness that comes with those charts. So you're not seeing the same thing over and over again that you might see in Landsworth Ridge. I mean, there's a lot of randomness in this game too, but this one you're going to see some new stuff each turn. In fact, you can die on the first turn in this game. So I think I'm going to give this the 3 keys for value. So that's my point of view: the presentation, the operation, and the value. So where do we stand on keys then in this regard? So this one, point blank, got a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys. Landsworth Ridge got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 keys, and American Tank Ace got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keys. So that is going to give it to Landsworth Ridge. This is a relatively close dispersion here of where I think of these games. All 3 of these games have their merit. I like them quite a bit. Would recommend all 3 of these. In fact, I'd recommend, the other 2 as well. The Last 100 Yards and Heroes of the Bitter Harvest by Lock and Load Tactical. Very fine games. But as far as New2Me for 2022, these are the ones that kind of rose to the top of the list for those reasons. Love to know your thoughts on these 3, or the other 2 as well. What you think about those system and how those would rank in my key point of view. Love to know what your thoughts or experiences are with any of these 3 especially, but the other 2 as well. And what you think about this series in general. I know your mileage may vary and you're going to have differing opinion, and that's okay. Love to hear it. That's why I'm doing this, is to give you kind of my point of view, but I love to know your point of view as well. So thanks for stopping by, and drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.